Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the UES Dominion, watching the strangest sight of her military career. Human ships and Veltar vessels were flying together, heading toward the same enemy. "Never thought I would see this," said Captain Seungjae from his hybrid bioship, fighting alongside the aliens who tried to wipe us out. "The enemy of my enemy," Yuna replied. "The First Builders want to destroy all organic life. That includes both humans and Veltar. 5 years had passed since the war began. The galaxy was a very different place now. Human ships patrolled star systems that once belonged to other species. The few surviving Veltar had allied with humanity because they had no other choice. General Kyung-soo had established military bases across 12 sectors, turning humans into the dominant military force in known space. But the arrival of the First Builders threatened to destroy everything they had built. "Admiral," reported Commander Daeho from his position at the sensor station, "the First Builder fleet is massive. We count over 1,000 ships, each one the size of a small moon." The First Builders were not like any enemy humans had faced before. Their ships were pure geometric shapes made of an unknown metal that seemed to bend light around it. They had no biology to target with quantum weapons, no crew to demoralize, no fear to exploit. "They have been traveling across the galaxy for millions of years," explained the Veltar commander Zixthul, one of the few survivors who had joined the Human Alliance. "They created the first civilizations, then decided organic life was a mistake that needed to be corrected." "Corrected how?" asked Captain Minho. "Complete sterilization. They turn planets into lifeless rocks, then move on to the next system." Dr. Isol had been studying captured First Builder technology for months. Their ships are controlled by artificial intelligences that are older than most stars. They see organic life as a contamination that spreads chaos across the galaxy. Can we fight them? Their shields are beyond anything we have encountered. Our quantum weapons barely scratch them. The Veltar's biological adaptations are useless against pure machines. But humanity had learned something important during their war against the Veltar. When facing a superior enemy, the key was not to fight fair. Engineer Jiwan had been working on a new type of weapon, something that combined human creativity with Veltar biological technology and knowledge stolen from the First Builders themselves. "We cannot destroy their ships directly," she explained to the War Council. "But we might be able to corrupt their programming. The artificial intelligences controlling their fleet follow very rigid patterns. If we can introduce chaos into their systems, they might turn on each other." "How do we do that?" General Kyung-soo asked. "We use the one thing they cannot predict: organic creativity combined with their own technology." The plan was desperate and required sacrifices that made everyone uncomfortable. Human volunteers would merge with Veltar biological systems and First Builder technology, creating hybrid beings that could interface directly with the enemy's computer networks. Captain Seungjae was the first to volunteer. "I have already bonded with a Veltar ship. How much worse can this be?" Dr. Nari monitored the procedure as Seungjae was connected to First Builder technology that had been captured during a previous battle. The process was agonizing. His human consciousness had to adapt to machine logic while maintaining organic creativity. "I can see their network," Seungjae reported, his voice strange and electronic. "They communicate through pure mathematics. But there are gaps in their logic, places where organic thinking can introduce variables they cannot process." "Can you disrupt them?" "Not directly. But I can plant seeds of chaos that will grow and spread through their network." The final battle took place in the Centauri system, where the First Builder fleet had stopped to sterilize the planets. Human and Veltar ships approached together, a sight that would have been impossible just years before. "All ships. This is Admiral Yuna. Today we fight not just for humanity or for the Veltar, but for the right of organic life to exist in this galaxy." The First Builder ships responded to the approaching fleet with mechanical precision. Energy beams that could slice through planets fired at the smaller organic vessels. Many ships were destroyed in the first minutes of battle, but the attack was a distraction. While the First Builders focused on the fleet, Seungjae and other hybrid beings infiltrated their network through captured technology. "I am in," Seungjae reported, beginning chaos insertion. What happened next was unlike any battle in galactic history. The First Builder ships, which had operated with perfect coordination for millions of years, began to make mistakes. Some fired on their own vessels. Others changed course randomly. Their perfect artificial intelligence was being corrupted by organic unpredictability. "It is working," Commander Daiho observed as first builder ships collided with each other. "They do not know how to handle randomness." But the victory came at a terrible cost. The hybrid beings who had infiltrated the first builder network were being consumed by the machine intelligence. Their organic minds could not survive long in the digital environment. "Admiral," Seung-jae's voice was fading. "Tell my family." "Tell them we won." One by one, the brave volunteers sacrificed themselves to save organic life. Their chaos programming spread through the entire first builder fleet, causing the ancient machines to destroy themselves in confusion. When the battle ended, over 900 first builder ships had been destroyed or disabled. The survivors fled toward the galactic core, their perfect order shattered by organic chaos. The galaxy belonged to humanity now. Admiral Yuna stood in her ready room, looking at reports from across human space. 50 star systems were under direct human control. Another 100 were protected by human fleets. The few surviving alien species had accepted human leadership because they had no other choice. "We did it," said General Kyung-soo during their meeting. "We saved organic life in the galaxy." "Did we?" asked Dr. Nari quietly. "Or did we just become the new threat that other species need to fear?" The question bothered everyone because it was true. Humans now controlled more territory than the Veltar had ever held. Human fleets could destroy entire civilizations with their advanced weapons. And unlike the Veltar, who had been driven by fear, humans were driven by something more dangerous: the absolute certainty that they were protecting the galaxy. Captain Minho, now promoted to admiral, controlled the border regions where new alien species were sometimes discovered. His orders were simple: make contact, assess the threat level, and ensure human security. "What if they resist?" asked his officers. "Then we do what we must to protect humanity and our allies," Minho replied. The transformation was complete. The species that had once hidden in a quiet corner of the galaxy was now its undisputed ruler. Human ships patrolled trade routes that connected hundreds of worlds. Human laws governed interactions between different species. Human technology was the standard that everyone else tried to match. But late at night, in the quiet moments between meetings and battles, Admiral Yuna sometimes wondered what they had become. "We saved the galaxy," she told herself. "We protected organic life from extinction." This was true. Under human protection, dozens of species that might have been destroyed by the Veltar or the first builders were now safe and growing. But it was also true that no species could challenge human dominance without facing overwhelming force. The galaxy was peaceful because everyone knew what happened to those who threatened human interests. Engineer Jiwon had established research stations in distant galaxies, sending exploration fleets beyond the edge of known space. When asked why, she gave the answer that defined humanity's new role in the universe. "Because we need to make sure there are no threats out there that we have not found yet. We are the guardians now. It is our job to keep the galaxy safe." From their hidden bases in the outer rim, the remaining Veltar watched humanity with a mixture of admiration and fear. They had created the perfect predator by trying to destroy it. Now that predator ruled everything. "They hunt threats that do not even exist yet," observed Zixthol during a meeting of Veltar survivors. "They have become more efficient at controlling the galaxy than we ever were." "Should we be worried?" asked another Veltar. "As long as we remain useful to them, we are safe. But if humanity ever decides we are a threat..." The sentence did not need to be finished. Everyone knew what happened to species that humans considered dangerous. In the depths of space, human exploration fleets pushed further into the unknown, always searching for the next threat to eliminate. They had learned the most important lesson of survival. The best defense was to make sure no one could ever threaten you again. The galaxy was safe under human protection. Whether it was free was a question no one was allowed to ask. Commander Daiho stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching the Veltar ships fleeing through space. 3 months had passed since the battle for Earth, and everything had changed. "Target acquired," reported his weapons officer. "One Veltar cruiser damaged, trying to reach their main fleet." "Fire quantum resonance weapons," Daiho ordered. The energy beam hit the enemy ship, and within minutes the vessel began tearing itself apart. The mixed biology that made the Veltar so powerful was now killing them. "Another one down," said Lieutenant Yaren from her station. That makes 47 ships we have destroyed since we started hunting them. Deho nodded, but he felt no joy. The war had changed him, changed all of them. Humans were no longer the peaceful explorers they used to be. They had become something harder, something that scared even themselves. On Earth, Dr. Isol worked day and night to improve the quantum weapons. Her laboratory was now the most important place on the planet. The resonance frequency needs to be adjusted for each group of Veltar, she explained to Admiral Hayon. They are trying to fix their biological problems by removing some of the species they absorbed. Can they succeed? Maybe, but it will make them weaker. Each time they remove biological systems, they lose abilities. They are caught between keeping their power and keeping their lives. Admiral Hayon looked at the star maps on her wall. Red marks showed where human ships were hunting Veltar remnants across dozens of star systems. How many of them are left? We estimate about 60 ships scattered across 3 sectors. They are trying to regroup, but our ships keep finding them. The humans had captured several damaged Veltar vessels and learned to use their technology. Engineer Jiwan had spent weeks studying their living ships. It is incredible, she told Captain Minho during his visit to the research station. Their ships can heal damage by growing new parts. They can change their shape for different missions. But now we know how to turn these advantages against them. Minho looked at the captured Veltar ship they were studying. It looked like a giant insect made of metal and flesh, but it was dying. Without crew members to take care of it, the biological parts were failing. Can we use their ships? We are learning how. Dr. Nari has been working with volunteers to see if humans can bond with the ship systems. It is dangerous, but some of our people are succeeding. This was how Captain Seungjae got his new command. He was one of the first humans to successfully bond with a captured Veltar vessel. The ship responded to his thoughts and emotions, becoming an extension of his body. It feels alive, he reported during his first flight. I can sense what it needs, what it is thinking. But I can also feel the memories of all the species that were used to create it. These memories were horrible. Seungjae could see glimpses of the hundreds of worlds the Veltar had destroyed. The billions of beings who had died to create this one ship. Use that anger, Admiral Jihoon told him. Channel it into hunting the ones who caused all this death. The war turned into a chase across the galaxy. Human ships, now equipped with both their own quantum weapons and captured Veltar technology, hunted the surviving enemy vessels without mercy. But something unexpected happened during one of these hunts. Lieutenant Yeren was leading an attack on a small Veltar fleet when she detected something strange. Commander Deho, I am reading another ship type in the enemy formation. It is not Veltar. What do you mean? The energy signature is different. Much older. And it is shooting at the Veltar ships, not at us. Through the chaos of battle, Yeren saw something that changed her understanding of the war. The mysterious ships were destroying Veltar vessels with weapons that made human quantum beams look like toys. Who are they? Deho asked as they watched the unknown ships tear through the Veltar fleet. I do not know, but the Veltar are running from them. After the battle, the human ships approached the mysterious vessels carefully. The aliens inside agreed to meet, and what they learned shocked everyone. The beings called themselves the Kethmoran, and they were the last survivors of an ancient civilization. Like humans, they had been attacked by the Veltar, but that was over 1,000 years ago. We have been hunting them ever since, explained Kethmoran Commander Thexil through a translation device. They destroyed our worlds and took our people just as they did to yours. You have been fighting them for 1,000 years? Yes, we are all that remains of our species. 50 ships when once we had millions, Commander Deho realized. They were looking at humanity's possible future. A small group of survivors spending their lives hunting their destroyers across the galaxy. Why have you not been able to defeat them? He asked. They learn and adapt too quickly. Every time we develop a new weapon, they find a way to defend against it. They take our technology and use it to become stronger. But we have quantum resonance weapons. They cannot adapt to those. Thexil made a sound that might have been laughter. They will find a way. They always do. The Veltar have survived for millions of years by adapting to every threat. This worried the humans. But they had learned something the Kethmoran had not, and Dr. Isul made a discovery that changed everything. The Veltar are not the original species, she announced during a meeting with all the human commanders. They started as something else millions of years ago. They have been adding other species to themselves for so long that they have forgotten what they originally were. What does that mean? It means they might be able to fix their biological problems, but only by giving up most of their power. They would have to remove almost all the species they have absorbed and return to their original form. Would that make them weaker? Much weaker. But it would also mean giving up the abilities that have made them successful for millions of years. Captain Minho had an idea. What if we force them to make that choice? Keep hunting them with quantum weapons until they have to choose between being powerful and being alive. That could work, Dr. Nari agreed. But we would have to be relentless. We cannot give them time to find another solution. The human fleet divided into hunting groups and spread across the galaxy. Each group included ships with quantum weapons, captured Veltar technology, and crews trained in the new style of warfare that humans had developed. Commander Deho led one of these groups to a distant star system where Veltar survivors were hiding. When his ships arrived, they found something unexpected. The Veltar ships were different, smaller, simpler, with fewer of the biological modifications that had made them so dangerous. They are changing themselves, Yaren observed, removing the biological systems that our weapons target. Are they weaker? Yes, but they are also harder to detect with quantum resonance. They are trading power for survival. This was exactly what Dr. Isul had predicted, but it created a new problem. The simplified Veltar were harder to hunt, but they were also less dangerous to other species. Do we keep hunting them? Daiho asked Admiral Heian over the communication system. The answer came not from the Admiral, but from the discovery of something much worse. Deep space sensors detected a new threat moving through the galaxy. Ships unlike anything humans or even the Veltar had ever seen. Ancient vessels made of pure energy and metal, destroying everything in their path. What are those? Admiral Heian asked Dr. Nari. According to the Veltar records we captured, they are called the First Builders. They are machines that have been cleaning the galaxy of organic life for millions of years. Cleaning? They believe organic life is a contamination that must be removed. They created the galaxy's first civilizations, then decided those civilizations were flawed and needed to be destroyed. Admiral Heian realized the terrible truth. The Veltar were not the galaxy's greatest predators. They were running from something even worse. And now that worse thing had noticed the war between humans and Veltar. The First Builders were coming to clean up what they saw as two species that had grown too powerful. The hunt was about to become a fight for survival against an enemy that made the Veltar look weak. The alarm bells rang across Earth as the Veltar fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Jihoon stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's largest warship, watching the enemy ships on his screens. How many? He asked. 412 large vessels, sir, reported Commander Deho. And we estimate over 2,000 smaller attack ships. Jihoon felt his stomach drop. Even with all of Earth's preparations, they only had 60 major warships and 300 smaller vessels. The enemy outnumbered them 6-1. All ships, this is Admiral Jihoon. He spoke into his communicator. Remember your training. Remember what we are fighting for. Today we show these harvesters that humans do not go quietly. On the planet below, General Kyung-soo watched the space battle begin from his command center buried deep under the mountains. Massive screens showed him everything happening above Earth. Sir, said Lieutenant Yaren, the evacuation ships made it out safely. Most of the civilian population is heading to the outer colonies. Good. Now we focus on making the Veltar pay for every mile they advance. The first engagement happened near Jupiter. Captain Sunho led 20 human ships against a scouting force of Veltar vessels. The enemy ships looked like giant sea creatures made of metal and flesh, with weapons that grew from their sides like arms. Target their weapon clusters, Sunho ordered his pilots. Hit them where it hurts. The human ships were smaller and faster than the Veltar vessels, but the enemy had stronger shields and more powerful weapons. 3 human ships exploded in the first minute of fighting. They are adapting to our tactics already, Sunho reported. Their shields are getting stronger against our weapons. This was what everyone had feared. The Veltar could change their defenses during battle, learning from each attack. But Engineer Yunji had prepared something special for this moment. All ships, activate the Phoenix Protocol, she ordered from her engineering station. The Phoenix Protocol was humanity's desperate answer to the Veltar's superior technology. Instead of trying to outfight the enemy, human ships would ram into them at full speed, causing massive damage to both vessels. You heard her, Captain Sunho said to his crew. Set course for the largest enemy ship. Maximum speed. Sir, that is suicide, his pilot said. No, Sun-Ho replied. That is war. The UES Thunder charged straight at a Veltar command ship. The enemy tried to destroy it with their weapons, but Sun-Ho's ship had been reinforced with extra armor just for this purpose. At the last second, the Thunder's crew used escape pods to get away, and their ship crashed into the Veltar vessel. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth. The Veltar had never encountered an enemy willing to destroy their own ships to hurt them. Their analysis of human behavior had not predicted this level of desperation. Fascinating, said Prime Harvester Vexthul from his flagship. These humans fight like cornered animals. Most species surrender when they see they cannot win. Should we change our approach? Asked his second in command. No. Their suicide attacks can only work a few times. Soon they will run out of ships. But the humans kept fighting in ways the Veltar did not expect. When the enemy fleet reached Mars, they found the planet covered with automated defense stations that engineer Jiwan had built over the past year. Fire everything, Jiwan ordered from her control room on Earth. Thousands of missiles launched from Mars toward the Veltar fleet. The enemy destroyed most of them, but some got through. More importantly, the missiles were not designed just to explode. What are these devices? Vexthul asked as strange objects attached themselves to his ships. They appear to be some kind of scanning equipment, his science officer replied. Dr. Isol watched from her laboratory as the scanning devices sent information back to Earth. Perfect. Now we can study their shields and armor in real time. While the space battle continued, Veltar ground forces began landing on Earth. Sergeant Wu Jin and his soldiers waited for them in the ruins of New York City. Remember, these things are fast and strong, Wu Jin told his men, but they have never fought in human cities before. Use that against them. The Veltar soldiers looked like nightmares. Each one was different, with parts taken from dozens of species. Some had 4 arms, others had armor that looked like insect shells, and some could change color to blend in with their surroundings. But they were used to fighting in open spaces against enemies who followed normal military tactics. The humans fought from inside buildings, using the city itself as a weapon. Fire, Wu Jin ordered. His soldiers shot from windows and rooftops, then quickly moved to new positions. When the Veltar tried to follow them, they found that humans had filled the buildings with traps and explosives. These creatures fight without honor, complained one Veltar commander. There is no honor in extinction, Wu Jin replied over the enemy's communication system. There is only survival. The battle for Earth lasted 3 weeks. Humans lost millions of people and most of their fleet, but they achieved something no other species had done. They hurt the Veltar badly. Dr. Isol's research finally paid off. Working in her hidden laboratory, she discovered that the Veltar's greatest strength was also their weakness. Admiral Jihoon, I have something, she reported during the middle of a space battle. Make it quick, Doctor. We are a little busy up here. The Veltar have biological systems from hundreds of different species all mixed together. These systems do not always work well with each other. If we can find the right frequency, we can make their different biological parts fight against each other. What kind of frequency? Quantum resonance. I need 30 minutes to configure our weapons. You have 20 minutes. That is all the time we have left. Isol worked faster than she had ever worked before. The quantum resonance weapon was theoretical. It had never been tested. But theory was all they had left. Ready, she reported. All ships, this is Admiral Jihoon. Target the enemy flagship with quantum resonance weapons. Full power. The human ships fired a new type of energy beam at Vexthul's command vessel. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Veltar ship began to shake. What is happening? Vexthul demanded. Sir, our biological systems are rejecting each other. The quantum energy is making our different species' genetics fight against each other. Fix it. We cannot, sir. The resonance is spreading to other ships. Across the Veltar fleet, ships began to break apart as their mixed biology turned against itself. The creatures who had conquered hundreds of species found their greatest strength becoming their greatest weakness. Retreat, Vexthul ordered. We must withdraw and analyze this new weapon. As the surviving Veltar ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, the humans did something that surprised everyone, including themselves. They followed. Admiral, said Commander Deho, should we not let them go? Admiral Jihoon looked at the destruction around Earth. Billions of humans were dead. Their beautiful planet was covered with scars from the battle. No, he said quietly. We do not let them go. We hunt them down, and we make sure they never hurt anyone else again. The Veltar had come to Earth expecting to add humans to their collection of extinct species. Instead, they had awakened something they did not understand, a species that could learn to hunt its hunters. Admiral Hayon read the report for the third time. The words on the screen made her hands shake, but she kept her face calm. Around the table sat the most important people in human government and military. So these harvesters have been killing entire species for hundreds of years, said General Kyung-soo. And now they know about Earth. The evidence is clear, Minho said. He had returned from his mission 2 days ago and had not slept since. So they follow a pattern. They study each species, then they attack and take everything. People, animals, plants, technology. Dr. Nari, Earth's best expert on alien life, looked at the pictures from the dead worlds. This is not normal behavior for any species we know about. Even the most aggressive aliens we have met do not completely destroy other civilizations. What do they want? Asked Dr. Dongyun, the quantum physicist who helped design Earth's defense systems. Everything, Minho answered. According to the records we found, they take samples of every living thing. They copy technology. They even take soil and water, like they are collecting the entire history of each species. Admiral Hayon stood up and walked to the big screen on the wall. It showed a map of their part of the galaxy. How much time do we have? Our deep space listening posts have been watching for any signs of them, said Captain Sunho, who ran Earth's early warning system. 3 days ago we detected something. The screen changed to show sensor readings from the edge of human space. Strange signals moved between the stars, too organized to be natural. They are coming, Sunho continued. Based on the speed of these signals, we estimate they will reach the outer edge of our solar system in 18 months. 18 months to prepare for something that has never been defeated, General Kyung-soo said quietly. Dr. Nari had been studying all the information from the dead worlds. I think I understand how they work. Each species they destroyed had different strengths. The blue-skinned people from Kepler 442b were very good at building things. Another species was excellent at space travel. Others were good at fighting or growing food. So the harvesters take the best parts from each species they kill. They are not just one type of alien. They are a combination of hundreds of different species all mixed together. This made everyone quiet. An enemy that had the best abilities of hundreds of different species would be almost impossible to fight. There is more, Nari continued. I found medical records from some of the dead worlds. Before they were destroyed, people reported seeing strange creatures that looked like mixtures of different species. Some had multiple arms, others had different types of eyes. Some could breathe underwater and in air. They change themselves, Dongyun said. They take the biology of other species and add it to their own bodies. That explains why they have been so successful, Admiral Hayon said. Every time they conquer a new species, they become stronger. Over the next few months, the deep space sensors tracked the approaching threat. What they discovered made the situation even worse. It is not just one ship, reported Captain Sunho. We count at least 300 large vessels and thousands of smaller ones. How big are the large ones? Each one is about the size of a small city. They seem to be carrying everything they need for a long war. Dr. Nari had been working with teams of scientists to understand more about the harvesters. We intercepted some of their communications. Their technology is very advanced, but we can understand some of it because they use systems they stole from other species. What are they saying? They call themselves the Veltar Collective. They have been traveling across the galaxy for thousands of years. Every species they meet becomes part of their collection. Do they have any weaknesses? General Kyung-soo asked. That is the problem, Nari answered. Every time they find a weakness, they take abilities from other species to fix it. If they have trouble with heat, they take heat resistance from a desert species. If they have trouble in water, they take underwater breathing from an ocean species. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. What about their ships? Asked Engineer Jiwon, who had been studying the technology from the dead worlds. Their ships are grown, not built, Nari said. They are alive like giant animals, but they also have metal and computers mixed in. The living parts can heal damage, and the technology parts give them weapons and shields. Living ships, Admiral Hayon repeated. That explains how they can travel for so long without stopping for repairs. As the months passed, the Veltar fleet came closer. Earth scientists worked day and night to find ways to fight them. They built new weapons and stronger shields. They trained soldiers in new fighting methods. But everyone knew it might not be enough. "Admiral," said Dr. Donghyun during one of their meetings, "I have been thinking about their weaknesses. Yes, they can adapt to almost anything, but there might be one problem with being made from so many different species." "What do you mean?" "If you mix too many different types of biology, sometimes they do not work well together. Like trying to run a computer using parts from 100 different companies. It might work, but it might also break down. You think we can use this against them? Maybe. If we can find a way to make their different biological systems fight against each other, we might be able to hurt them." This gave them hope. But they needed more time to develop such weapons. "Time we do not have," General Kyung-soo said, looking at the latest sensor reports. "They will be here in 6 months. Then we make our stand at Earth," Admiral Hayon decided. "We evacuate as many civilians as we can to the outer colonies and we turn our home system into a fortress." "And if we lose?" asked Minho. Admiral Hayon looked around the room at all the faces. These people represented the best of humanity: scientists, soldiers, explorers, and leaders. "Then we make sure we hurt them so badly that the next species they meet will have a better chance." As the meeting ended, everyone went to work on the massive task of preparing Earth for war. Deep space sensors showed the Veltar fleet growing closer every day. Soon, humanity would face the test that hundreds of other species had failed. But humans had one thing that the previous victims might not have had. They knew the harvesters were coming, and they had time to prepare. The question was whether 18 months was enough time to find a way to defeat an enemy that had never lost. Captain Minho stared at the empty planet below his ship. The green and blue world looked perfect for life, but something was wrong. His crew had been scanning the surface for 3 hours and they found nothing alive. "Captain," said Yuna from her station, "the cities are still there, but no one is home." Minho walked to the viewing screen. Below them, a planet called Kepler 442b showed massive cities with tall buildings and wide roads. Everything looked normal except for one thing: no lights, no movement, no life. "How long has it been empty?" Minho asked. Jiwon checked her computers. "Based on the decay patterns, I would say maybe 50 years. The buildings are still good, but nature is starting to take them back." Taehyun looked up from his communication desk. "Captain, I am getting some old signals from the planet. Very weak, but they are there." "What kind of signals?" "Emergency broadcasts. They stopped about 50 years ago, just like Jiwon said." Minho felt cold. This was the 18th planet they had found like this. 18 worlds with empty cities and no people. The human government had sent his ship to study these dead places, but they still had no answers. "Take us down," Minho ordered. "We need to see this up close." The ship landed near the biggest city. The buildings were tall and made of a silver metal that still shined in the sunlight. Wide streets ran between them, perfect for vehicles, but no vehicles were there. Parks and gardens grew wild between the buildings. Dr. Sumin put on her equipment and walked out with the team. She was their expert on alien civilizations. If anyone could figure out what happened here, it was her. They walked through the empty streets. Their footsteps echoed off the buildings. Sometimes they heard birds or saw small animals, but no signs of the people who built this place. "Look at this," Soman said, pointing to a wall. Strange writing covered it like a message left behind. "This is their language. Give me some time and I can read it." They found a large building that looked important. Inside, they discovered what looked like a government center, or maybe a place where leaders met. Computers and screens filled the rooms, but everything was dark and cold. Jiwon connected her equipment to their systems. "I think I can power some of this up. Their technology is different from ours, but not too different." After an hour of work, some screens began to glow. Soman had been studying their writing and started to understand it. "Captain," she said, her voice shaking, "you need to see this." The main screen showed what looked like a news report. The person speaking looked almost human but had blue skin and larger eyes. Soman translated as she read. "They are coming," Soman read slowly. "The ships appeared yesterday at the edge of our system. We tried to talk to them, but they do not answer. Our defense fleet went to meet them, but we lost contact. We can see explosions in space. We think our ships are gone," the report continued. Emergency to all citizens. The alien ships are moving toward our planet. They have sent smaller ships ahead. These ships are scanning our cities. They seem to be studying us. Our leaders are trying to evacuate people to the underground shelters. Soman paused and looked at the others. The next part is strange. It says the aliens are not just attacking. They are collecting something. Collecting what? Minho asked. People. They are taking people alive and putting them on their ships. But they are also taking plants, animals, and even soil samples. Like they want to study everything about this world. The final message was short and filled with fear. This is the last broadcast from Central Command. The alien ships have landed in every major city. They have weapons we cannot fight. They are taking everyone. If anyone receives this message, do not come here. Tell the galaxy about the harvesters. Warn others about... The message cut off suddenly. Harvesters, Taehyun repeated. They called them harvesters. Soman kept working on the computers. An hour later, she found something that made everyone stop breathing. Captain, they left coordinates in their final transmission, hidden in the code of their last message. Coordinates to what? To Earth. The silence in the room was heavy. Minho felt his stomach drop. These harvesters, whoever they were, had known about Earth 50 years ago. How is that possible? Yuna asked. Earth is far from here. We are in a quiet part of the galaxy. No one should know about us. Jiwon was checking more of their data.
Captain, I found something else.
This planet was not the first one they hit. The computers have records of other worlds being attacked. The pattern goes back hundreds of years. How many worlds? Minho asked. I count at least 200 different planets mentioned in their records. All of them went silent after the harvesters visited. Dr. Soman found more files on their computers. These people were part of something called the Galactic Trade Network. Thousands of different species working together, sharing technology and knowledge. But one by one, planets started going quiet. Show me the pattern, Minho said. Somin put a map on the screen. It showed their part of the galaxy, with hundreds of points of light representing different worlds. Over time, the lights went out one by one, moving in a clear direction. They are not attacking randomly, Yuna said. They are following trade routes, moving from one connected world to another. Like they are hunting, Taehyun added. Minho studied the map. The pattern of dead worlds formed a line that pointed straight toward the area of space where Earth was located. How long do we have? He asked. Jawan did some calculations. If they keep moving at the same speed, and if they follow the same pattern, they should reach human space in about 10 years. Maybe less. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately, Minho said. Pack everything. We leave now. As they prepared to go, Soman found one more message in the alien computers. This one was different. It was not from the people who lived on this world. It was from the harvesters themselves. Species 4847 collected successfully. The message said in simple galactic trade language. Biological samples secured. Technology absorbed. Moving to next target. Species 4848 located at coordinates. The coordinates were for another world that humans had found empty 3 months ago. They number their victims, Soman whispered, as their ship lifted off from the dead world. Minho looked back at the empty cities below. Somewhere out there, the harvesters were still moving from world to world, collecting entire civilizations like samples in a laboratory, and they were coming for Earth.